it's not one thing, it's three things. So we replaced the stator, trigger, switch box, rectifier. And so one of the big problems that I'm having right now is that my trigger location is not showing up where it should. It's like trigger way over here. I don't know. It's very weird. I'm starting to wonder, like, did I buy the right parts? But I did. I bought the right parts. So yeah, I know I bought the right parts. I went back and I looked at some wiring diagrams. I have some little jumpers here just because, like, usually on Mercury, like, your violet is your number one. And then, you know, from there, this engine fires 132. And, you know, but on some of these, the number one was the brown. So I've got it right now. Number one is the brown. And, I mean, it's still firing off different. It's not firing where it's supposed to be. So I originally had the stator, there's two coils on the stator. Maybe I can show you later. But they're a high and low. And then the rest of it is all charging. So I had those in front and got on iBoats forums, and they, you know, several people say, well, it doesn't matter where you have that in relation because the stator just charges the battery. But, you know, what the Mercury guys are all saying this, and then, you know, of course, if you continue on the thread, is like, yes, it does make a difference. That's why they tell you to mark the location where the stator was. So I had done that because I almost always do that. I mark the location of the stator. I put the new stator back in the place of where it was supposed to be or where it was originally. And I've never really had any problems with it being in a different location as far as the triggering. So we got spark, we got good spark, but I'm at the point now where I want to time the motor, initial timing before we even hook up the gas. So I got the spark plugs out, I got a spark checker, and then I've got my timing light and number one cylinder. Got an ignition switch here hooked up to the battery, and so anyway, just trying to figure out, you know, why we don't have spark like where we're supposed to have spark. Here comes Mom.
Are you videoing?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You're all right. So, I guess to say that, just make sure I'm all hooked up everywhere. So what you can do is make some marks. So obviously in the front of this motor, it tells us where, you know, what your timing is. So on this one, I think, from everything I gather, it was 0 to 4 degrees at idle, and at wide open throttle, we can do 29, which is going to be 23 degrees. We'll probably mark it at 23 just to be safe. Well, I've made a mark, if you can see right here, and we can zoom in so you can see this, or maybe not, I don't know. So you kind of see I made a mark, 23 degrees, and I've even continued my mark up. Which really is about right here, right? And then we're going to mark 0, just so we know it's 0. So it's 0 is, oh, well, I screwed up. Put that at 10 and wipe that off. Yeah, I'm just doing this so that I have a good, like I can see it. So I got 0 and 23 degrees. So 0 is going to be number 1. And I'm going to write that on top. So the first thing you can see, like there's a bunch of different methods on finding your actual top dead center. And but I just have a screwdriver, and if you put this in your number 1 spark plug hole and you rotate this around, you know you can find without, there's 2 methods to this, and one is like they have like a top dead center tool that you put it in the number 1, you turn the flywheel until it stops, and then you take it out, you go beyond, put it back in. Well, you put it in first. You find that mark when you put it in, and you make a mark, and then you go beyond it. You take. Let me say this again. So the one method is to put a spark plug stop. It's a piston stop tool that Mercury makes, and so you put that in, and then you rotate the flywheel until the number 1 just touches it. You make a mark on your flywheel. If you want to know, you just make a mark somewhere by taking some sort of something that will stay stationary. So say it's this is your timing pointer. So say you use that. But you don't know if your timing pointer can move, you can adjust it. So what you do is you make a mark, and then you take and you pull it back a little bit, you undo your spark plug stop, go beyond it, still clockwise, and then you put your spark plug stop tool back in, and then you go counterclockwise until it stops. You make a mark on the flywheel, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go halfway between those 2 marks, and that's going to be your top dead center axle, top dead center. I mean, it is absolute top dead center. And then that's what you would use to align your timing pointer. Another method is to get out a dial indicator and go through the rigmarole, finding 4.64, backing it up until you find your actual top dead center. That's another method. Or you can do like I do, because it's literally not, it is critical, but it's literally, when I could take this screwdriver, I could put it in the number 1 top dead center. I can feel where the top dead center is by the wrist pin. The wrist pin, like you can feel it, like it's about there, right? And then I can feel the motor literally turn. And it's where the wrist pin that's on the piston arm is, like the piston comes up to top, and then it's got to rotate back down. So it's sort of doing this motion, right? And so you can literally feel that, and you will know that you're at top dead center, and which, according to this mark, it's like, it's a little off, I think. So like there is 0, and I mean it's like literally, like you can almost feel it. So I know that this timing pointer is, it's maybe it's pretty doggone close. Now you might be off 1 or 2 degrees, but we can do this engine by ear, and we can know, because sometimes these engines, they, because of the wear on the piston rings, it might like And if it calls for 0 to 4 degrees, maybe it likes to be at 6 degrees. And if it does, you just leave it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to time it by ear. But anyway, the real reason is to sort of like get this so like you know in relation where everything is. So I marked number 1 on the top up here right by my number 0, so I know that that's supposed to fire right then. So then we can do the same thing. If we know it's 1, 3, 2 is the firing order, then we can go down to the number 3. Let's do number 3 next, and it's going to be the same thing. So we're gonna take this up until and then it's going down, right? So there's number 1, and then here's number 3. And then I'm just gonna take my paint pen and come up here at 0, and I'm gonna put number 3. And now I'm gonna go to the number 2 cylinder. And pretty close. This one doesn't have to be as hypercritical because you want to sort of see in a relationship. So I'm just doing this because whenever I have this on number 1, so when I do the timing light, it should show me number 1. Like I can point up here and see about where it's triggering. And there's probably no way to really show you this. I wish there was. I could try to get the camera up and shoot down and see if we can get a shot of that. But my goal is to figure out where it's triggering and why it's triggering, where it's triggering. Now, obviously, your trigger arm where you go back and forth is going to change the timing of it. But right now, my number 1 was triggering way over here. So why is that? Because that idle, it should be triggering over here. So we're 180 degrees out. So that's led me to believe, well, maybe our purple wire, our violet wire, was really at the mark of, that should be our number 1. So we're going to try to figure this out and see what we come up with. And I'll put my camera up, maybe up here where you guys can see it. Okay, I don't know if this is going to work very well or not, but we're going to give it a good college try. So we got our timing light, hooked up, we got everything. Looks like it's squared away, so let's just see what we get. So that's showing number 1 is way over here. And right now, yeah, should be. So what we're shooting for is I'm going to move these around. So right now I had brown going to number 1. So what if we switch, say, I don't know. Let's say number 1 is going to the violet. Let's try that. So now number 1 is over here, but it's still way away from our timing pointer. And if we move, see right now, we're pretty much as far as the trigger can go, say this way. And if we went all the way in, I know you can't see this, but if we went to our wide open throttle position, it's going to end up way even further back. It should, anyway. Let's just see what we get. So now that's interesting because now we're more this way. And then say we swap, you know, I don't know, let's go white to number 1, which is ridiculous, but we'll do it just to see in relation where it's going to be. Yeah, that's not right either. So yeah, I'm not sure what we need to do. Like, I kind of feel like, you know, on the forum they said that move this stator 1 inch for the split in the case and on the starboard side. Doesn't seem to be really working. Doesn't seem to be working for us at all, to be honest. I'm not sure what to do or say here. So I guess we'll just experiment, like turn that stator and see if we can't get our number 1 to come back over in this location somewhere so that we know we can get it in time, right? So I'll put my trigger all the way back, or I'd say my idle timing all the way back to where it's supposed to be, and then so our number 1 is fired over here. So we'll get our flywheel tool, pop this off, and then see if we can't rotate this sub and see if I can't figure this out. I've never really ever had this problem before. Doesn't seem like a faulty trigger to me. It just seems like it's not, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. May have to get on the phone with these companies that make this trigger and stator and see what they say about it. Because at this point, it's not happening. All right, everybody, this Chinese trigger was our problem. So you can see now we're right at 0. So maybe a little more than 0. So we can see number 1 is hitting right there. Now we can go around to each one and make sure that we're firing in the right sequence and reconnect our wires the way they're supposed to go. So we want to make sure, like I'm on number 1, I'm going to take my timing light, I'm going to put it on number 2 and see where number 2 should be. I think over here. Or no, over here. So number 2's over here. That's where it should be. And, you know, occasionally you want to spray some WD-40 in the cylinders just so it's got some lubrication. So now number 2, see, wait a minute. Number 2, did I do that right? All right, so 3 should be, so it should be 1, 3, 2. So we went down each plug wire. Number 1 showing right here. Plug wire number 2, it's showing it's right here. Now, plug wire number 3 showing right here. So we're in line. Now, I guess we can put some spark plugs in it, hook up some fuel, and see if that dude runs. Something might take me a minute to do that. I'll go ahead and disconnect my spark checker. Let's use my tank. So I don't think I have any fuel for him yet. So yeah, the trigger that I had bought said it was for this motor, but it obviously was not. It was not for this motor because and I'll be honest with you, it about drove me nuts. So I guess really should probably hook this back up too. I've got these jumper wires, so maybe we'll do that too real quick. Let her rip, Tater Chip. So like I said, if it's not one thing, it's 3 things. Alright, now I gotta put some spark plugs in it. Maybe get you guys down out of here. Put it in warm up. Alright, so obviously we probably need to get it in time a little better and maybe have the carburetors open a little better. But we know that it runs. So we'll see what happens here. Yeah. Alright, well I can leave the key on and then try to so I think it's maybe a little long on time. So do we adjust this in or we adjust this out? I think we gotta have to look and see where our timing is. I think our initial timing was pretty close, but when I looked at it again, I was like, it's a little off. Either that or me messing with it. I got my fuel sink out. Another thing, I want to make sure, I'm going to go get a tie wrap, make sure this is not getting close. Okay. Well, at fast idle, it seems to be about where it was to be at idle, so I'll mess with this tomorrow and see if I can get this better. It's take me a little time to kind of dial it in right and get it going. So, hey, thanks for watching and subscribing, and really do appreciate it, and we'll catch you guys next time.